Hey guys, welcome back to another story from Annie Narrates. The title for this one goes like this. Evil mom swears that she will ruin my wedding, and I think nothing of it until I get to my wedding and see my estranged by a brother standing with my fiance, and my fiance picks him over me and tells me that our relationship was a trap by me. I have never had a good relationship with my mom. She is a walking combination of multiple mental health issues and a master at projection. I was the result of a teen pregnancy that she had surprisingly wanted a lot and was convinced that she would be a stellar parent. My grandparents wanted me to go up for adoption, but my dear mother was against the idea because she felt that she was ready to be a mother. She was 16. My grandparents tried to knock sense into her, but to no avail. Well, soon after my birth, she realized that having kids, especially daughters, is not just dressing them up and playing dolls in houses with them. It entails actual responsibility, for which she was completely ill-equipped. My grandparents did help her out a lot, but for a lot of things, she was left in charge of me. My dad was never in the picture. To this day, nobody knows who my birth father is, not even me. My grandparents asked her multiple times to let them know who the father was, and that he had a right to know about me, but she always refused. As I grew up and she started resenting me, she turned even more wicked with this piece of information. She would use my bio-father's identity against me and get me to do her bidding. Things like, if you cook dinner for an entire week, I'll tell you your dad's name. And I'm heading out for a vacation. Don't tell your grandparents, you're all alone, and I'll tell your dad's name. This happened to me for a long time before I could realize that she was never going to tell me who my dad was. These are just some of the instances. In general, however, a large chunk of my childhood experience was horrible. I used to hate coming back from school, the fees for which were paid by my grandparents, by the way. My mother, now 44 female, hated me to the core. I think when she realized that I was her daughter and not her sister or plaything, she flipped. She blamed me for taking away her youth and beauty and restricting her life. I am not assuming this. She used to say this to me whenever we fought with each other, or whenever I tried to get away from household chores. She used to guilt trip me by saying that she had sacrificed the best years of her life for me, and that she was in the right to demand some respect and work around the house. I have been listening to this since I was 4 years old, and I have grown up internalizing that I have ruined my mother's life. My only rock through this was my friend Sienna, now 28 female. Sienna and I met in 2nd grade, and we have been attached to the hip ever since. Initially, I didn't tell her about what used to happen in my house, but she figured out that I did not like going back home, so she took me back to her place. Her mother, however, knew that something was wrong. She didn't try to push me into telling her what was up, but I knew I was always welcome at her place. By the time I reached grade 4, I used to practically live with Sienna. I went back to her place after school. I would bathe, eat, and do my homework there, and then her dad would drop me back home at 7 p.m. This was convenient for me because mom had told me to take care of my lunch on my own and that I was a grown-up and could cook and clean for myself. I used to ensure I got back home before mom came so that she wouldn't get suspicious. And she did not get to know for 2 whole years that I wasn't even in the house this entire time. I got caught when I was 12. And that was when the blackmail regarding my dad started. Do this and I'll take you to your father. Do this and I'll give you his contact. I got fooled by her antics for a couple of years, but I then realized that she was never going to give me what I wanted. When I was 15 years old, she got pregnant again. She told me that she was going to have a baby, and since I was the same age when she had me, she expected me to take care of the kid. I tried to protest and tell her that I was not interested in being a babysitter and a mother to a child I did not create. But she was having none of it. She said that I should be happy for her because he was going to be my real brother, implying the baby's dad was my biological father. I knew this was a big fat lie, and he was using this as bait to get me to do what she wanted me to do. I realized that she was going to trap me, and I had to think fast and save myself from this situation. I packed my bags overnight and went to school really early the next day and just never came back. I went to Sienna's house and broke down. Her parents took me in without hesitation and said that they would talk to the police, and all I needed was to focus on studying and enjoying my life. I don't know if my mother or grandparents ever filed a missing complaint or not, and I didn't care because I never wanted to go back to them. Life after that was good. I got into college on a full scholarship, and I made my career on my own. I never spoke to my mom again, and I never went back home. For me, my family became Sienna and her family, and I prefer to keep it that way. I met my fiance Arthur, 31 male, a few years ago, and we have had a very good relationship. He does not know much about my past with my mother, but he knows that we are estranged and that I do not want her to be a part of my life at all. He has been very respectful of the fact that I choose to maintain my distance from her and that I don't like talking about her. For me, my family is the family that I chose. Sienna, her parents, and now him. Our wedding was scheduled for the 30th of January of 2024, but that ended up becoming the worst day of my life. When Arthur had proposed to me, we had decided that we would keep the wedding a low-key ceremony. We wanted to keep it as quiet and intimate as possible, because both of us are of the view that only people who are extremely special and important to both of us should get a space at the wedding. However, word got around that I was getting married, and somehow, my mother got to know. This was the last thing that I wanted because I knew she would try something out. 2 months ago, I received an email from my mother. The email said that she was sorry for being away these years, and that she knew that I would grow up to be a competent and confident woman because she had raised me that way. When I read it, I did not know whether to laugh or barf. She had also written that she had come to know that I was getting married, and she was disappointed that, as the mother of the bride, she got to know this from other people and not me. Mind you, we have not had any contact with each other for almost 13 years now, and she has the audacity to waltz into my life, expecting me to treat her like a queen and give her the role of a mother when she has never treated me like a daughter and had abandoned me the minute she got a chance. I wanted to send a long reply to her, but Sienna advised me against it. She said that mom would actually love getting a reaction out of me, and the best way to deal with her and show her her place would be to completely ignore her, like she had ignored me for the last 13 years. Both Sienna and I knew that she was getting back in touch only because she wanted to be a part of the wedding, since she never got to have one of her own. And knowing her, even if I did try to extend an olive branch and invite her, I knew she would pull off stunts like wearing white to the wedding or trying to be the center of attention because she didn't have a wedding because of me, and I owed her my wedding day. Yeah, she's weird and twisted in the head. She tried emailing me a couple of more times and then dropped it, or so I thought. A month ago, I got a call from a random phone number. I received it, and it was my mom. I didn't even recognize her voice at first, but I knew that the entitled words that I was hearing from the other end could only come from her. She said that she had been writing to me for the past month, and I did not even have the decency to respond. I told her that the fact that I did not write back despite getting multiple emails is proof of the fact that I don't want to talk to her anymore. She said that she was my mother and that I could not ignore her in my wedding and not plan anything for the mother of the bride. I told her that you're not my mother and that you had never treated me like a daughter. You always held contempt for me and the poor decisions that you made. And if you were expecting me to honor you at my wedding, you are delusional. So she could go and weep and stomp her feet like a petulant child in the corner because I did not care. She was dead to me, just like I had been dead to her all these years. I told her to never contact me again, and that I would report her for harassment if she did. She said that she would make me pay and ruin my life if I didn't change my stance, and disconnected the call. I was relieved though. In hindsight, I should have known that she was about to plan something. She kept quiet after that, and I thought that maybe she had gotten the message and that she would lay low and not bother me during the wedding as well. Boy, was I wrong. On the day of the wedding, Sienna and I reached the venue earlier than almost everyone else. She was my maid of honor, so she was the one planning out and coordinating most things. I texted Arthur when I reached, but I didn't get a response. I thought he would be busy himself, so I did not think much of it. I was in the middle of getting ready when Sienna came rushing to me, literally out of breath. She said that there was an emergency and I needed to drop everything and go see to it. I asked if Arthur was okay and she looked at me with the literal tears in her eyes. I thought for a second that something had happened to him. I ran out and followed where Sienna took me, and to my utter shock, I saw Arthur standing with no one else other than my mom. There was also a young boy standing there, but I didn't know who he was. Arthur had a few sheets of paper in his hand, and he threw them to my face and asked me to explain. Before I could register what was happening, it had all erupted into a huge drama. My mother was wailing like an infant, Arthur was furious, and Sienna and I were just clueless. I looked at the sheet of paper and I saw a birth certificate for a boy named William, dated 2011. And what I read next made my eyes pop out of the socket. The birth certificate had me as the mother. Arthur asked me if it was true, and whether I had a kid. I vehemently denied it because he had the proof that my mother had given him. She claimed that the boy she had with her was actually my son, whom I abandoned and ran away, who she had to raise. She also said that she had tried looking for me, but I had changed my numbers and everything, so she could not do anything. The kid, according to her, had a verbal disability and was mute. I told him that she was lying, and that he was her child, whom she had conceived when I was 15, which is exactly why I ran away. I told him that she had threatened me and was trying to force me to promise to take care of the kid when he was born, and because I did not want that kind of responsibility in my life, I ran away. She said that I was lying, and she got photographic proof of me being pregnant, and also the birth certificate. Ultimately, it became a classic case of my words against hers, and since she had gotten proof with her, I was on the wrong side of it all. Arthur said that the wedding was off and walked away, but not before saying such hurtful things to me that I will probably never forget. He said that this relationship and marriage were a trap set by me so that I could use his wealth to finance my life and that of my kids, and that he was disgusted with himself for falling for a woman who could so easily abandon her own son and deny his very existence. I tried reasoning with him. I pleaded and begged him to listen to what I had to say, but to no avail. I had lost him on the day that we were supposed to be man and wife, and all because my mother is a petty, evil woman who cannot digest other people being happy. She ran off with her son along with Arthur so that I could not question her. She has successfully managed to ruin not just my wedding day, but my reputation and my integrity. I don't know what to do and where to go from here. All that I know is that she won, and I lost. I was a fool to not have told everything to Arthur, but I also never thought that he would believe her over me. I guess this is it. This is my life now, and I don't know what to do or how to move forward. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours. The wedding was obviously cancelled, and it was so humiliating. Had I not been utterly shattered and heartbroken, I would have died from the shame that I felt of being left at the altar. This was my worst nightmare come true. No, actually it was two of my worst nightmares come true. I got a message from a random number just saying I won. I know it's my mother, if I should even call her that anymore. I tried calling the number, but it seems like I've been blocked. So there goes that. Sienna and her parents have been making all the arrangements and taking care of everything because I don't have the energy to even move. I have called Arthur multiple times, but his phone keeps going to voicemail. I have texted him that I need to talk, but he hasn't responded. I am just glad that I'm not blocked. I called his mom up and tried to talk to her, but she was very cold towards me. I tried to tell her my side of the story, but she disconnected the call mid-conversation before I could even get 5 words in. Call me dumb or delusional, but I still have hope for reconciliation. We have been through a lot together, and one flimsy fake certificate should not be able to shatter what we have built together for all these years. This cannot be the end of us. I refuse to believe it, and I will fight till I can. I don't know how, but I will. I cannot let her get away with something like this, over something so petty and insignificant. Sienna and her family have been my rock through this, and I could not be more grateful to have them in my life. This is possibly the darkest period of my life, and I want help. Anything to help me get out of this mess and chaos, or I think I will give up, because I feel like I have no strength left in me anymore. I'm looking at you for help, Reddit. Get me out of this. Thank you for all the comments. It gave me real perspective and solid advice. And I've set things in motion. I cannot divulge a lot of specific details, and there might not be any more updates after this, but I'll try to briefly tell you what happened. I read every single comment of the post, and most of you were of the opinion that I needed to take legal action. Sienna and I sat down and deliberated upon this for some time, and we came to the same conclusion. A legal recourse was the best option available to us. I contacted an attorney, and we sat and I told him all the details. Much to my surprise, he said that I had a strong case because my mother had forged documents, and that was a pretty serious crime. He asked me whether I had a copy of the document, but I said no. Well, we served a legal notice to my mother, and it would be an understatement to say that she panicked. She started calling me non-stop and leaving hysterical voicemails. I was instructed by my lawyer to not receive her calls and save all evidence, which included voicemails. She tried to email me and text me, but I gave no response. All of this is piling up as evidence, and she's so daft she doesn't even know. On the other hand, I got word sent to Arthur and his family that I was taking the legal route. This was to drive home the point that I was the innocent party in the entire situation and that I was willing to go the legal way. I have yet to receive any communication from either him or anyone in his family, and I don't know what is up with that. On the other hand, I have also started going to therapy. I have had a few sessions and I don't know whether I will be continuing long term or not, but as of now, I have no complaints. My therapist is quite effective and he understands my problems well, and I can see a shift in me already. And it has only been a couple of sessions. Sienna's mom had called me up a few days ago and told me that mom was in the process of engaging a lawyer for herself, but not before she had exhausted all other tricks up her sleeve. She contacted Sienna's mom and threatened and begged and pleaded with her to get me to withdraw the case, and that she couldn't believe that I would take my own mother to court over a silly joke. Sienna's mom gave it back to her there and then. She told mom that she had broken my relationship and marriage, and I had every right to take her to court. She also told mom that it was hilarious how mom knew exactly which house to come to when she was in trouble, but never bothered to check up on me when I ran away from home. So I guess that makes it clear that she never even tried to look for me after I had left. While the rational and logical part of me is not surprised at this piece of information, a small part of me still feels hurt that I was disposable for my own mother. I thank Sienna's mom for having my back through it all. She told me that my mom might try to go for an out-of-court settlement kind of thing, because she doesn't have the money to afford a good lawyer. Lo and behold, I got a call from her lawyer yesterday, asking for a meeting to settle things. I am still not sure what to do, but I know I'm going to make her pay for what she has done. I know I had said that I would not be updating anymore, but there's news, and I have to share it with you. The meeting with my mother was an absolute disaster. She was not willing to take responsibility for anything and was victimizing herself the entire time. Her lawyer was a little daft, so that worked in my favor too. When my lawyer told her that she could be facing jail time for forgery, it struck her that she was neck deep in trouble. It was hilarious and cathartic to watch. We finally settled on her giving out a public apology, saying that she was the one who created the entire drama and that she would have to pay me for the wedding. She went pale because it was a huge amount, but she had no other option but to give in to these demands. She tried playing the single mom with a young son card again, but I just told her that she should have thought of this before ruining my life. I also told her that if there's any lack of care for my brother, I would not hesitate to send in CPS. It looked like she had been punched in the gut. Well, as soon as she posted the public apology and sent word across to Arthur and his family, all of them have been dying to get in touch with me. But now, thanks to my therapist, I know that they don't deserve me. He was willing to throw away everything we had built, our dreams and our future, over a stranger. I don't think I will ever be able to trust him again. He has bombarded me with messages and calls, but I don't feel like talking to him. I don't think I can see myself living with a man who will distrust me at the drop of the hat and not even give me the chance to explain or try to resolve things. I cannot keep giving these tests and proving myself to him all my life. I have just left him and his family on red, like they had done to me during the worst time of my life. If the guilt of losing me is eating me away, then I'm sorry, but he brought this upon himself. And frankly, he deserves it. I know now that I would much rather live alone than live with a person and a family like that. In hindsight, I am so glad this happened, because now I am free, and I have been saved from being tied to a distrustful man like Arthur forever. And that was it for today's story. Thank you very much for listening. Smash that like button for me, and subscribe for more stories. Thanks again, and we'll be seeing you in the next one.